What if the next medical breakthrough could change thousands of lives? Welcome to Moving Medicine Forward, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on groundbreaking healthcare innovations. I'm your host, Jeremy Schrand, and together with CTI's leading experts, we explore the cutting edge of clinical research transforming patient care. Each episode, we dive deep into the stories behind medical advancements, featuring insights from global therapeutic experts who are literally changing how we understand and treat critical disease. From rare genetic conditions to revolutionary treatment protocols, we're not just discussing research, we're highlighting the human stories driving medical progress. Welcome to today's episode, where we explore the science and clinical promise of CAR T therapy. Joining us is Tara Mink, an expert with over 25 years of experience in cell and gene therapy. Tara walks us through the CAR T process, highlighting its transformative role in personalized medicine. Whether you're in clinical practice, research, or biotech, this conversation offers valuable insights into one of the most innovative therapies in modern oncology. Welcome to the podcast, Tara. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk all about CAR T today. So let's dive right in. What is CAR T?
CAR T is a cell and gene therapy, many cell and gene therapies, and basically it is a process of collecting T cells from a patient and then sending them off for manufacturing, and that process includes inserting the chimeric antigen receptor into the cells, and then they're expanded, and then those cells come back to the center, the approved treatment center or authorized treatment center, in a bag similar to a small blood product, and they're infused into the patient.
How effective is a CAR T as a treatment?
I feel like the literature has shown remarkable efficacy, in addition to being very durable efficacy. And I think I would add that it's considered a one and done type of therapy. There's no maintenance usually required after it, or in many cases, I should say, required after it. And so as when compared to something like a chemotherapy or other types of biotherapies where you have to go back and have numerous infusions, CAR T is a one-time infusion.
Are there lots of side effects associated with the CAR T treatment?
They are, but they're manageable. They usually will occur within maybe the first 3 to 7 days after the infusion. There are a couple that are significant. The cytokine release syndrome, that's pretty significant, but treatable with an IL-6 blocking agent. ICANS or for neurotoxicities that might occur with patients. And so, like I said, though, these are fully manageable and treatable, especially if caught early. And so the key there is early identification of those side effects.
So, I mean, this kind of like really, when you start to think about it, it feels a little almost science fiction like. And I think that we're going to even see more of these like cell and gene therapy treatments coming in the future. What does the future look like for cell and gene therapy?
The future is really bright. I feel like there are numerous reports out there, and one of them that I'm in particularly thinking of is the Cardinal 2025 Advanced Therapies report. For cell and gene therapy, they're anticipating around 1,500 new cell and gene therapies coming out by 2030.
Wow, that's a lot. So with all this like development and new treatments, there's always got to be hurdles. What are the hurdles for cell and gene therapy?
One of the major hurdles is the expense.
Okay.
It's just very expensive to research and provide these therapies. So the high cost and also combination with the insurance coverage, those hurdles can be challenging to get to the prior authorization point for these patients. Another challenge is on the patient side, the access to an authorized treatment center. They could live in a rural area, and it could be a good 30 minutes to an hour, and you might be thinking, oh, well, that's pretty close, Tara. That's what you drove to get here to our establishment today. Well, when you have to drive that far and stay there, for approximately 14 days, that can be expensive for a patient who might have to have a hotel nearby just to get there. So for the patient, it can be expensive, not only in the therapy, but also in the logistics of having to stay nearby the treater. It's a highly regulated type of therapy. It's FDA regulated. There's also accreditations required by payers, and those accreditation standards are stringent and can be difficult and costly on the site to be able to become compliant to give these therapies in accordance with these regulations. So that navigation can be difficult and challenging. Then there's also challenges in the community. There's myths around CAR T and when do I give it? When do I refer? Do I refer? Does my patient qualify, et cetera? So there's lots of myths in the community about what's required or necessary for CAR T therapy. So I think some of the challenges in the community are when the physician does identify a patient, which can be challenging in and of itself if they don't have that education, they can also have a difficult referral pathway to get to the right specialist in order to get their patient to the right and appropriate care. And some of those physician, myths that they're overcoming, can cause blocks in their line of thinking. Well, when do I refer my patient? Are they relapsed and I refer my patient? Well, no, really referring them early is helpful because of all of the challenges I just mentioned. It can take a while to get prior authorization. It can take a while for the patient to come up with the logistics of being able to have a care provider and take off work, et cetera. So you don't want them to relapse while you're in the middle of that.
So how do we overcome all these challenges? It seems a little daunting, right? Like I know, like traveling, like not only the travel, but like the hotels, and going to be at a medical center where the hotels are going to be expensive. It's not just like a small, like little rural place for a hotel. So how do we get over these challenges?
One way to get over them is to expand and authorize more treatment centers.
Yeah.
Getting the therapy out and getting that myth that the therapy can't be done in the community or it has to be done inpatient. It can be done outpatient with proper management, early intervention for side effect management or prophylaxis prior to infusion. Those types of solutions help patients to be able to be seen outpatient. So I think expanding and supporting community settings, because right now CAR T is primarily offered in major academic centers or major hospitals that may already have a transplant program. So they have apheresis services, which is collecting the stem cells. Mm-hmm. That's not a common thing to see out in community, and it can be expensive to bring that up. So partnering with third-party companies who offer or services who offer apheresis can help give them a pathway forward. Another thing is, improving the insurance coverage. There's other certifications that are applicable to cellular and gene therapy that maybe have less stringent, requirements, and they only have to have one versus having to have two or three. So trying to overcome some of those insurance challenges, maybe payers could start accepting other types of authorizations or maybe quality certificates from sites. The other thing I want to talk about is enhancing the patient support and education, because a gas card can only go so far. Right. And these patients are challenged, like I said, with lodging even, or they have to have their primary caregiver with them. Well, that's the other source of income, and they may already be on FMLA themselves. So those types of support and education, and exhausting every avenue to help patients in that respect. And then facilitating collaboration between referring providers, maybe even some type of education out in the community, maybe offering for providers to participate in tumor boards that discuss their patients so that they can hear the discussion and become educated, and maybe identify patients earlier in the process who could be referred. That would be an exciting thing to partner that way between the referring provider and the treating provider. I think there's other ways.
Maybe coming on a podcast and talking about CAR T so we can get it out there. Yeah. Yeah. We talked a lot about the challenges, like with like the patients and stuff like that. What about the commercial challenges?
I think as far as the commercial challenges, probably coming up with constructs that are more advanced in the technology so that the adverse events and side effects are less severe. Mm-hmm. I think it would be helpful to move it out into the community. It's safe to move it out in the community, but are the treating providers comfortable with that? So, I think helping with that new technology and continuing that pursuit of agents that are less toxic or cause less side effects and severe complications.
So what does the future look like for CAR T?
So, like I said, of the 1,500 products coming out and when I say coming out, I mean going into the clinical trial cycle or circle. Between 54 and 74 of those are slated to actually come into production by 2030. So that means applicability to disease states or conditions outside of hematology oncology. And that's what's exciting. CAR T for gastrointestinal disorders, for prostate, neuroblastoma is on the horizon, and that's going to be very exciting for those patients. It would be, I think, a breakthrough for those patients. Lung, breast, autoimmune even. And so sites should start considering, well, how am I going to manage the patients when we get to expansion beyond hematology oncology, beyond one unit, but affecting many units within my hospital or within my physician practice? And then how can I ensure that my patients have access to those products? And making a plan, partnering with hospitals that, are doing those clinical trials and making a plan ahead of time, because you have from now until 2030, which is right around the corner.
Right.
So, or a little bit beyond. But, start strategizing now for how you're going to meet those needs of your patient population. I think innovative reimbursement models are going to start coming out because at some point payers will have to figure out, how we can expand beyond, the hematology and oncology patient population and those regulatory and compliance models into areas that haven't ever had to deal with those before.
It's exciting. It's an exciting future. It's a fun to be a part of this now and kind of seeing it grow to what it is now. So you've been in CAR T as long as it's existed. You've had cell and gene experience for the past 25 years. What's the biggest surprise you've seen over the last 10 years with CAR T?
I would say it has been incredible to see breakthrough therapies that are giving patients with blood cancer longevity. When I first started, I started in multiple myeloma, and back then patients had, 3 to 5 year life expectancy, and transplant came out, and patients were getting transplanted, and I've seen some patients out 25, 30 years. And so it's very exciting to, in my lifetime, see 2 of these types of breakthrough therapies. I didn't think I'd ever see that in my lifetime. And so it just shows how innovative and our scientists and our physicians are, and just that constant search for a cure.
What would you say to a patient that maybe be considering getting a CAR T treatment and is just kind of on the fence and doesn't really know what it is? What would you tell them?
I would say seek that knowledge by experienced treaters. If you are being followed by a physician and they can connect you, that is the best place to start. If you have seen some information or heard of some information, making sure that that type of therapy applies to your particular diagnosis, and then just working with your trusted provider team to get to the right place for the care that you're looking for.
Thank you so much, Tara, for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
That wraps up today's episode on CAR T therapy. A big thank you to Tara Mink for sharing her expertise and over 25 years of experience in cell and gene therapy. We hope this discussion provided valuable insights into the CAR T process and its clinical impact. Stay tuned for more conversations at the forefront of medical innovation as we continue to move medicine forward. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy discovering how medicine is moving forward, or you are interested in how CTI could help you with clinical research, be sure to subscribe. Follow us on social media or visit our website at ctifacts.com.